Listeners, followers, Jack doesn't drink alcohol, so we're forcing him.
I took one of my son's apple juices.
Your son's going to be pissed. Ooh, that was a nice little pop, though.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to Weddings Uncensored, where we drink and talk and talk and drink.
Woo! We
Cheers.
are here to talk about the good, the bad, and the downright crazy of this whole wedding industry. Cheers. Oh, the intro music's going a little long this time. It's because we're pumped. It's because we're psyched that we have a guest today.
What?
We are so excited to have you, DJ Jack Farmer.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. The hottest wedding podcast in the world right now.
The hottest,
I thought
the
you were
best,
just saying that I was
the greatest.
Fastest growing.
Fastest growing. These are all fake statistics, and I love them. Keep going.
I can't.
It's just our opinions, but you know what? We're entitled to our correct opinions.
Yeah, it's number one in the demo, I believe.
Absolutely. I mean, it has to be in my demo.
Right, please.
Right. I'm sure if you can Google it, don't. Just trust me.
That's actually true of everything we say on this
Google it,
on
but
this
don't.
podcast. You could Google it, but just trust me. Just take my word for it.
We're professionals, I promise.
Don't be a loser and fact check.
Hashtag only losers fact check. We're going to use that in the website. Good job.
Okay. Thanks, Jack.
DJ Jack Farmer, thank you so much for being here. Tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and how long you've been in this industry and what you do.
Yeah, I'm DJ Jack Farmer. As you guys
I'm only
said.
going to call you that. It's not Jack.
Yes, we got to get the air horn in there. I'm DJ Jack Farmer. I got in the wedding industry back in 2011, which still blows my mind because in my mind I still feel like that was like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And now people keep asking me, how long have you been in the industry? I'm like, for like 5 years, and I do the math. I'm like,
You're like, wait.
ooh, I've been doing this for a long time.
I'm in the two digits now.
The two digits.
Like comfortably in the 2 digits now. Not just like I was like peeking over the 2 digits. Now I'm like, no, we're comfortably in the 2-digit zone. And so it's funny because I always, even with music, I'll say, yeah, do you guys like new stuff, like anything after 2010 or whatever? That's not new anymore.
We're like, Jack, we're in 20 past. We're like into that.
All that math still is crazy to me. Someone was talking about when you turn 21. Those people were born in the year like 2001 or something.
Yeah.
I can't even do them. What the fuck?
This was the most heartbreaking thing. I was DJing this wedding, and this young person came up and says, hey, can you play Usher? Yeah. And I'm like, of course I can play Usher. Yeah. That's a great song. And then she looks at her friend and goes, what are some other good, really old songs you can request? And it just...
Oh, no.
I said, you know what? I'm not going to play that song for you.
Request denied.
Denied.
You're so vintage, DJ Jack Farmer.
Wow. And you don't look vintage either.
I was so devastated by that. But you got to keep a smile on your face and be like, maybe some other classics like Low from Lil Jon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that is sad, but true.
Yeah.
Well, you're still cool in my book, and I'm sure there's still lots of couples that are looking for cool old DJs like you.
What a great way for me to pitch myself. Are you looking for an old, out of touch DJ?
Cool old men who only play Usher.
DJ Jack Farmer.
Maybe some Black Eyed Peas.
Oh.
I don't know. Things might get
Some
crazy.
Bebo.
Crazy if you guys ready to go there. Maybe Pitbull, I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Pitbull's still a thing. But okay, so when people are searching for DJs and they start doing their vendor searching websites and Yelping and all of the things, what are like the top 3 things that you think that couples should be looking for or questions they should be asking?
So I think the first thing that a couple should do is, and this is probably going to be repeated a lot, but remember, what do you want? And I know a lot of DJs are going to come out and be like, I do this, I do that. This is how I'm great. But what do you actually want at your wedding day? So I think you need to figure out what you want, figure out what those DJs are, and then look for what I call like social proof, right? Like reviews, Yelp, whatever. Are they on vendor lists? Are planners recommending them? Are other vendors recommending them? Are they on the venue books? Do they have any type of evidence that they actually are good at what they do beyond just looking like they're good at what they do?
Yeah.
And I think if you do those 2 things, that's the biggest step in weeding out the millions of other DJs that are out there
Yeah.
and whether or not they fit.
Yeah.
So when you say what do you want, thinking about what you want, because we do talk about this a lot, like managing your expectations and, visualizing what you really want your day to go. Do you mean like, I want a fucking rager dance party, or I want someone that's good on the mic, or I want someone who doesn't say a goddamn thing on the mic?
Yes.
Like those are the types of things that we're thinking about.
Yeah, exactly. Because there are some DJs, and I'm sure you guys have both seen them all. There's the ones that are on the mic constantly. There's the one who are never on the mic.
Yeah.
There's the one that scratches and plays all the sound effects. There's the ones that kind of just let songs play out beginning to end. There's the ones that do everything in between.
Yeah.
So think about what you want and think about what you've seen at weddings that you liked and what you didn't like, and what you want your event to be like and what you want your guests to experience. So I always say, what do you want your friends to experience? But also, what do you think your aunts and uncles want to experience? Your grandma, your mom and dad, what do you want them to see? Do you want someone who is going to make it look professional and nice and beautiful and elegant, or do you want the person that's going to blow the roof off with crazy music and get super hyped, as you say?
Yeah.
What are you looking for? Because I think if you just say to yourself, I'm just going to look at DJs, you're going to see all these different things, and you're going to have no idea what you're comparing them to.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they're all going to say, I'm really great. I've DJ'd a million weddings. Everyone loves me. Check out my reviews. And you're not really going to know what it is that you're trying to separate. So just get an idea of what you actually want your wedding to look like, instead of just saying, here's a list of DJs. If you Google DJs, as you know, you'll find a million of them.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's so important, the DJ, and we've talked about this, I feel like, almost in every episode, not even talking about DJs, but just how important and vital they are to the flow of the event, to the vibe, to, all of that.
Right. Well, I appreciate that. I'm a big believer in teamwork makes the dream work. I think every vendor is important to that, because the DJ has the microphone, sure, so you hear them, but honestly, if photos and videos, they go overtime for cocktail hour, that impacts everything. If the makeup artist can't get the job done earlier on, that's something no one sees.
Yeah.
Well, you would see that. The planner sees that, but
Photographer,
the guests-
videographer see that because we can't do shit.
Right.
So.
Right.
Right. So I think even with the timeline stuff, as much as a DJ, I want to pretend that I'm in control of that, or the planner, we can pretend we're in control of that. At the end of the day, it's the teamwork that goes into it. And so I don't know if that helps you find a DJ, but I do believe it's a whole team effort for everything.
Well, and going to other vendors to get referrals for things like that is super important, right? Because we do know your planner, your photographer, anyone can kind of see, well, I saw this shit really go off the rails because the DJ couldn't keep things in control, or, vice versa. So definitely when you're vendor hunting, not just Yelping and website shopping and price shopping, but actually, doing your research and finding direct referrals.
Yes, and I think that you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned like the planner, and not just because you're a planner, I'm not just sucking up here, but I think that listening to your planner and their referrals is so important, because a couple's going to tell you what they're looking for, and you're helping to put that together. But that means you're going to understand a little bit about what DJ is going to be a good fit for that as well.
Yeah.
So if they are a couple that wants that DJ that's going to be super hyped and yelling on the microphone or whatever the case is, you're going to know that some DJs fit that and some DJs don't. And I know some DJs and wedding vendors were kind of like this, like, I want to book everything. And DJs will be like, I'm the best DJ for everything. But we all know vendors, that's not the case. You got to find the actual right fit to make it work.
I think something that helped too for like other DJs or couples looking is DJs can also have different sets. So I think it's important. You brought up a good point of like, oh, what does aunt and uncle want to listen to? What do grandparents or aunts or friends? Each of those groups can have a different set, like an 80s set, a 90s set, a rock set, a hip hop set. And I think that'll help, especially probably during like cocktail hour, where everyone can kind of get their own little feel for 15, 20 minutes and go through different sets, versus like a DJ doesn't have to be just one genre.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
And that's what I always say, because sometimes I'll talk to couples about planning the music, and they'll say something like, we just want hip hop. We love hip hop. And I always say, that's great, but when guests are first arriving there, you don't want a bunch of hip hop playing and then cocktail hour, more hip hop, and dinner more. After 6 hours, people will be like, we get it. Hip hop music. Let's do something else. And so, understanding that there are those different parts of the night, and understanding that there should be ebbs and flows of different types of energies and different types of songs. And as a DJ, that's always tough, because people like to say, well, what song do you play in this case? And I always say, there could be a million right answers to that question. It depends on a million different things. But
you do have to cater to everyone a little bit. Like you might love like underground B-side, like hip hop, but grandma really just wants to hear Beyonce and it's fine. Like, well, you know.
Right.
So how do you manage that? Like you personally as a DJ, when you are kind of doing your planning meetings with clients and they're giving input on type of music or asking you questions, like how much input do you let clients have? How much do you try to take control? Do some try to just give you their fucking Spotify playlist and like,
Yeah, so I always say, first, going back to the very beginning, something that I've tried to become as good as I can about is making sure that I'm a good fit with the client to begin with, the couple in the very beginning. And I used to always try to book everybody, and even if I wasn't a good fit, I'd be like, I'm going to figure out how to be a good fit. And I've learned that just doesn't, you can fake it, but people will get it. And
I
so
love that.
I try to make sure that if it doesn't feel like I'm the right fit, I'll tell a couple, like, you guys seem great. I just don't know if I'm the guy for you.
Yeah.
And I'll try to refer them to someone who may be and try to help them out.
That's awesome.
But I don't want to be at a wedding I'm not the best fit for, and they don't want me to be at a wedding I'm not the best fit for. So I try to make sure there's some kind of match to begin with. So after that's happened, when it comes to planning, I always say, I like playing music that people like to hear. So I always say, you can say, Jack, you're the DJ, you figure out what to play. Or you can say, here's 300 songs. But I will say this, the more you need me to play, the more I have to play, or the more I am not allowed to play, the less I'm able to really control what that room is like. And so I always say it's kind of like a caterer. If you say, you can make whatever you want, but you have to put cheese on everything.
No, that's a great analogy.
Then, I can do that. But just so you know, if
someone
people
doesn't
don't
like cheese,
I'm lactose intolerant.
you know, it's.
I'm allergic to country music.
It gives me hives. I don't know.
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
I like the idea of making sure you're finding the right fit for you too, like to other vendors out there. Like there is enough business to go around for all of us and community over competition always. And it's only going to be painful for you on the wedding day if you force yourself this round, peg into the square hole and it's just like awkward and not enjoyable for anybody.
Yeah. Right. And I always say that this is the kind of industry you get in because you love it. Like, if you're in it to make money, I've got news for you. There's easier ways to make money than in this industry.
True.
So I just found if I don't love it, why am I doing it?
Yeah.
And so, again, if I'm not a good fit, I have no hard feelings. I just, I want to have fun at the wedding.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you want me to have fun at the wedding. So, clear that out. But I'm okay with requests. Like I said, I want people to have a good time. So if someone has a lot of requests, I'm fine with it. I always like to say, though, let me know which songs are what I would call like the must play versus the play if possible. And so I always use this example with my clients. So if anyone who's booked me has probably heard this example, but my grandpa's favorite song in the world of all time is Old Time Rock and Roll by Bob Seger.
Yeah.
He just loves it. I don't know if he could be at the bank and if the song comes on, he's going to start like grooving around. He just loves it. And so if it was me, I'd be like, DJ, I don't care what you see on that dance floor. At some point, you've got to play that song.
Yeah.
Let me know that, but then also let me know if you're like, I like Levitating, but if I don't hear it,
Yeah.
Now I'm going to try to play it if you like it, but if I'm also playing whatever, let's say 80s is taking over and everyone's 80s night, then I'm not going to force it in for the sake of forcing it in.
Yeah. So clients should trust their DJ as much direction as you're giving them on the actual day, trusting you to read the crowd and getting away from the music part a little bit, but to work with the planner and be, zhuzhing the timeline as you go and all of that. Like, it's so important to the overall flow.
I think there's like the idea too of like, hey, you can help delegate, right? Or I can take the input, but don't limit me to one lane. Give me a freeway, like I'm going in the right direction, but don't tell me like, oh, you have to stay in this lane over here. And that goes with any vendor.
Yeah.
Photo, video, DJ, planning, florals,
that's true.
like I would say we're in this industry for a reason, and hopefully if we have the experience, we can tell you like, hey, we should go in this direction now, or, switch over here for a second. And then we can switch back over here for a second, especially with music. From a video perspective, I love it when a DJ is obviously killing it. but knows how to transition smoothly between different sets or different genres without like all of a sudden playing a song and then all of you see everyone's disperse.
Yes.
And then it's empty for like 4 or 5 songs. And then a jam comes back on and everyone comes back. You know, like I like seeing some people still on the dance floor, still having a good time.
Yeah, it's always everyone has different mixing styles and things, but I agree. I think silence is the absolute worst thing on a dance floor, and very rarely does anyone want to hear a song go from very beginning all the way to the very end.
Yeah.
There are a few songs where like you're supposed to do it that way,
Sure.
like Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
You don't get off halfway through, you know. But yeah, you want to make sure that the songs are blending, because I don't want anyone to ever just be like, okay, this song's over, what's next?
Yeah.
Not to get too in the weeds, but there are some DJ
yeah.
tricks where it's nice to make it quiet for a second and then hit like a song with a hard intro, like you know, so you can drop you know, it gets quiet and then peace up, A-Town down, bum, bum, and everyone goes, oh, you know, you get that little bit of a thing, but that's like a 1 second.
That's an old song too, Jack.
I know it's
You know, you hit him with something new.
Something
So
new.
like,
Yeah.
so really blow them away with some "This is how we do it." Something just
Oh gosh, they probably didn't. That young couple probably didn't even know.
yeah,
what
I did
that
not
song
even know that
was.
song.
No.
Oh my God.
God.
Okay, so getting out of the music stuff for just a minute, I, as a coordinator, I value very much the talent of a good MC and someone that can guide through an event. I think I always tell couples, like, you don't know until you've seen a bad one, right? Like, you might just be like, this day is going great. Like, everything's flowing fine. But that's because there's a good DJ MC that is, like, guiding you through your experience without you even knowing it.
Yeah.
So what are, like, the challenges for you to be a good MC? Like, are there things that you've learned along the way? Or, you know, kind of how does that work?
Yeah, much like music, being an MC is also a level of taste. And so some people, they do want the rowdy person. Some people, they want someone who's not going to say very much at all. I always personally, I would relate myself to sort of a ring announcer or an MC in that way, where I like to deliver the information. And I always say what I try to do on the microphone is reflect what it is we're trying to accomplish. So grand entrance is going to be a very big, high energy moment, if that's what they want.
Yeah.
Obviously, big, high energy moment. I'm going to be a lot more, loud. I'm going to make a bigger scene. I'm going to let everyone know this is a big, big moment. But later in the night, when it's time for toasts, you don't want me yelling into the microphone Dad is going to give a toast. You know, be like, cool it, dude. So at that point, it's a lot more pulled back. Like, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to bring up the father of the bride to say a few words about the newlyweds. That's going to be pulled back. But then, of course, later in the night, when it's time for dancing, you know, that's when you bring it back up again. You know, make some noise, whatever the thing is. Us, you know, us DJs have certain things. Part of DJ school.
Yeah. No,
it goes
for
with
real.
point and mini piano.
Yeah, right.
What about air drums? That's my move. That's my, when you throw up the drumstick and you catch it.
Yeah.
No, it's the button pressing and the wrist.
It's all in the wrist.
All in the wrist right here.
They do say,
I don't see a lot happening or hear a lot happening different, but I see a lot of wrist movement going on right now.
Hey, we don't want to pull the curtain back too far, okay?
I used to DJ Jack, so I know the ploy of let me look like I'm doing a lot right now, but I'm just waiting for a good moment. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You got to look busy.
Looking busy is a part of the job. You know what my looking busy thing as a coordinator, I just have my clipboard and I walk around real fast and I look around a lot. I'm trying to do, let's see what's next.
When I'm video, I act like I'm shooting, but I'm not.
Oh, yeah. An easy one. You can just look like you're working the whole time.
I'm chilling. I'm just chilling.
Oh, we're peeling back the curtain now.
Hey, you know what? We're being real. It's
They
okay.
need to give you a camera where you can like watch videos of other things while you're also recording. So you can have like the little screen, but you're actually like watching whatever.
He's watching the
Or
game.
just have like a little mount, and you just have your phone, and it's a monitor. You know.
Yeah.
He's watching Seinfeld on his
Oh God. Some new shows.
Some new shows, some very cool hip stuff everyone's into.
Gen Z listeners, do you watch Seinfeld?
Have you checked out The Office? It's incredible.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. So you have all of this going on the day. You're reading the energy. You're playing all the tunes. But let's like back it up a little bit to like the prep work that goes into it. Because I think sometimes people don't understand like, why are DJs so expensive? Or, you know, what else are you doing? You just show up on the day and
press a button.
Press a button.
Yeah.
What do you do leading up to the wedding, the weeks, the months before that are part of prep?
Oh, I just show up and push a button.
Yeah.
That's actually what happens.
Funny you should
See
say
you
that.
next Tuesday.
I just push buttons and hope for the best. Right. No, but there's a lot of conversation, like with all of us vendors. There's a lot of conversations with the clients and the couples, and after the initial booking, I always like to have about 2 months out a planning meeting where I go through everything with the couple, whether it be the music that is I'm going to play as guests arrive, what they're walking down the aisle to, the cocktail hour vibe, the dinner vibe, the dance vibe. And I also talk through kind of what they should expect. So with dancing, as you guys probably know, you typically start with the older stuff for mom and dad, and you get into the newer stuff later. And I walk them through that so they know when dancing starts. If I'm playing older music, they're like, why isn't he playing the...
Yeah.
I've explained this is typically how it looks. And
Yeah.
I do all that. I'm a big fan of doing what I call the final run-through phone call. So like a week or two before, just calling them again and going, hey, we're going through this one more time, and just making sure nothing changed so that I don't go, now Grandpa's going to give a toast. And they go, Grandpa passed away.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to have
real.
that moment.
Yeah,
I'm just going to go through it one more time, make sure nothing changed. I don't want that.
Cross my T's, dot my I's.
Yeah. And so I go through that one more time with them. And the prep work I'm a big backup person. So this is my biggest time spender is obviously I put all the music on my laptop. I DJ on a laptop, not one of the cool vinyl DJs, but I do the laptop.
It's overrated.
If you like expensive and difficult, it's really cool.
For real. Spelling the T.
So, guests don't know if you're DJing on vinyl or not. No one cares.
No one knows.
Anyways, half the DJ community is going to come after me now. But
I used to have what was it? Vinyl. I used Serato.
Yeah.
So I can kind of be upset, but I can kind of understand at the same time.
Right. Yeah. So I obviously will put it on my laptop, but then I'm one of those guys that I think, what if the laptop crashes or what if Serato crashes? Mm-hmm. So I'll download it on Spotify, and then I bring a laptop, and I also Spotify backup on Serato on the backup laptop. I'll bring on my phone. I have my wedding playlists both on Apple and on Spotify. And I always bring an iPod. I'm more like one of 5 people with an iPod still, because I always will fill up my iPod with backups because again,
I love that though.
That's awesome.
Backups on. I mean, we all have to have that.
Yeah.
All the plan Bs and Cs and Ds. Yeah.
Right. And so if anything happens, I always say worst case scenario, I'll have something I can plug in and music will play. Will it be perfect? No, but I'll have something that hopefully people will go, okay, whatever, music's playing, people are happy.
And I think that's important to know, because it's not necessarily that you're expecting it to happen, but I think that's just the experience that you do have of knowing, hey, if this goes wrong and this goes wrong and this goes wrong, I still have a backup.
Right. Yeah.
And as clients are interviewing DJs and other vendors, that should be a question to your videographer, to your photographer. What is the backup? I don't think that clients really need to get into some real tech specs when they're asking questions. Tell me about your speakers, Jack.
Right.
I have no fucking clue what any of it means. Right.
Right.
But those types of technical questions, like what happens if the, power or whatever things stop. Yeah.
Speaking of the technical question though, I think it's good to ask the questions, or when do you ask the questions of what's the ceremony setup and what's the reception setup? Because I think couples don't really understand the logistics and the difficulty it is to get married at a ceremony site that's on the grass or on the lawn, and then they go to the cocktail hour, which is in another location, and then they transfer over to the reception area.
Yeah.
Can you kind of walk through that whole process?
Yeah, so the very beginning when we're going through the initial phone call, I obviously ask, where's the wedding going to be? Fortunately, I've been doing this long enough where most venues, I have kind of an idea of what it's going to look like. And if I haven't been there, there are certain cues, like if it's at ABC Golf Course. Okay, ceremony's probably going to be outside somewhere, but they probably have a ballroom somewhere for this. I kind of get an idea, but then I'll just ask them, how far away are these things? And kind of get an idea of what that layout's going to look like. In most cases, unless it's a private residence, most cases where places do weddings, they're pretty good about having everything I'm going to need. Yeah. Fairly close. Outside of sometimes ceremony, you need a battery situation. But And so it's actually, for me, I go into it assuming I'm going to need a ceremony setup, a cocktail hour setup, and a dinner and dancing setup. I just assume I'm going to need 3. And then if I don't, lucky me. I don't need to set up more than that.
Do you still bring all of that, or do you just know ahead of time? Is that part of your like, hey, breakdown or review question?
I always, again, I'm so stressed out about something not working. So I
have so many backups.
I always will bring stuff and I'm like, you know what? I still have space for this backup mixer. I'll put this in the car. I better bring a backup speaker.
I like that, but I don't know why that is such a pain point for my couples. I feel like it comes up more often than not that they're like blown away that they would need separate setups. And that's just one of the logistics that, you know, you need to think about as far as how many microphones do you need? Are there extra speakers, or is there a musician coming in, and, you know, things like that. So I think there's a lot of logistics that people just assume I don't know, magically work out or whatever. But like working with another performer, like is that something that comes up that can be a pain point?
Not usually. I think where it becomes mostly a pain point is if the performer doesn't bring any. They want to plug in, but they don't bring anything to plug in with. Like because as you know, you've DJ'd, so you know there's not really that many cables that someone's gonna likely plug in with, and most boards will have everything you need. But when they show up and they're just like, "Hey, I don't have anything," I'm like, "Well, good luck." And so that, but as far to get into, I guess, a little bit of pricing, every DJ is different. What I've found couples seem to really like is, again, I assume there's going to be the 3 locations. I know a lot of DJs like to sort of parcel out every individual thing. I like the one size fits all. I consider it a day rate for me.
I love that.
So look, you're getting me. This is the day. Music, sound, announcements, it's one cost. And for a chunk of time, for pretty much, mine is 8 hours. Most venues aren't going to let you go 8 hours anyways. That's kind of the idea. It's for the whole day. And so if they're like, hey, we actually moved so that you are going to need a speaker for cocktail hour, I go, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
No problem.
Or if the booking changes.
That's awesome.
Jack, that just made me like excited. Like my nipples got hard thinking about that. Like,
well, it does the same to me when I think of speakers also. So,
not the speaker part.
Like extra speakers.
I get really turned on by transparency in the wedding industry and vendors working with other vendors and being on the same team. Okay.
Yeah, and I just find, because for so long I felt so silly. I used to work for another company, but like it'd be like if a couple books and they're like, oh, it's gonna be 6 hours, and then the day comes around, actually it's gonna be 6.5. I'd be like, okay, well, we got to charge you an extra couple dollars. Like, this is so corny. Like
literally. And that, I wonder how much of that comes back to kind of going off the rails a little bit here, but like just charging what you're worth and knowing what you're worth and being like, I'm a fucking professional, and whatever happens on the day, I will take care of it. And this is what that's going to cost you.
Right.
Up front, right? And I'm not going to charge you an extra $100 on the day because you want me to play music for an extra 30 minutes. Like, that's so dumb.
Right. And, you know, this is, I know I could probably make a little bit more money here, but like, even at the end of the day, when like, hey, can you go an extra 30 minutes at the end? If a couple's asking me to go 30 more minutes, it's probably because it's an awesome party.
Yeah.
And you're having fun.
I probably want to go another 30 minutes. So like, why get all weird about it and make it awkward? And so, like I said, this is the chunk of time you have for the day. And then some couples will say, well, what if I don't need you for ceremony? And I'll say, well, fortunately, it's the day.
This is the rate.
Because I can't book another thing to make up that difference. So that's the day, and I keep
like
it. And I think couples think it's easier. I think it's easier. I don't have to remember like, well, what did I quote this? It's the same. I mean, obviously it changes. Like, well, we want to book a photo booth too, or you know, that will change it. But as far as I always say, music announcements, it's just one flat rate.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Going back to the ceremony real quick, or just speeches or someone speaking in general.
Yeah.
Are you pro wireless, pro wired?
So I am
It's talking about the microphone
I think
people are using. I just wanted to clarify for anyone that doesn't know what the hell we're talking about.
So in a perfect world, I would love everything to be wired, because wired is 100%. It works every time. I always say there's a reason stand-up comedians almost always have a wired microphone when they're out on stage. That said, I also understand there's a reality of what we're doing in pictures and things like that. So I go with a wireless, and I get you get a quality wireless microphone. Sometimes you got to get new wireless microphones because things change with the airwaves and all that kind of stuff. And so you just got to stay on top of that, make sure you have a good one. And if necessary, I think if it's a big enough distance between where I'm set up and where the microphone needs to be, then I just need to gut it out and run a cable and put the antenna closer to where the microphone is. Because I get it. You don't want the wire in the pictures and the video. I get that it's ugly. I understand that. So I go wireless, but there is that sound part of me that's like, oh, it'd be nice if these were all wired.
Yeah.
But it's one of those balancing the vendor thing. Like, what do you have to make sure
I think,
it looks good.
I think from video, I cannot tell you how many times that a DJ will set up wireless audio for the ceremony, and then you get like all these cuts in and out, and then whoever the officiant and the bride and groom are looking back like, what's going on? Like, can we continue? Like, I can't really hear you so I would love it. I love that if you see that there is a distance, bringing the antenna closer. Yeah. Just so that, hey, we're not gonna get the cell phone, whatever airwave disturbances. Right. Because it's always fine when you check the audio. Always fine, because no one's sitting there. There's no phones. There's no whatever. But I do think like bringing the antenna closer or wired mic is always preferred. So please, if you hire a videographer, please, audio is very important.
This information is just
please,
so exciting, Kyle. Wow, thank you for getting into.
Please, I'm with the DJ. I gotta say it. I gotta say it.
Our listeners are asleep. I'm sorry, listeners.
No,
shut the fuck up. Sorry, your nipples aren't hard on this topic.
We'll go back to speakers. It's fine.
Wireless mics do not get my nipples hard.
Well, a lot of people, one last thing, I think, because mics are very much like cameras, where you can get a solid one at one price, but if you want a very good one, it costs a lot of money. And I think sometimes, I don't want to say DJs go cheap, because people have different reality budgets and what they can afford or whatnot, but I think if you want a wireless microphone, that's one of the things you just got to spend the money on. Yeah. You have to, because you can't have the cutting in and out. Yeah. You can't. Yeah.
I agree. And as boring as this subject is, it is important. And it's important to think about how all of your vendors really do work together to make all of these logistics happen. And I don't think that people think of that at all. And that the quality really does make a difference. So when you're price shopping for someone who is using a lot of technical aspects like a DJ or your photo video, like that's going to make a big difference in your final product.
Yeah. Right. 100%. And that's, I mean, again, when you price shop and you're figuring out your budget, I'm not one of those people that get upset when I find out that my budget is more than someone else. I know some vendors will get very upset, like, how dare you not spend this much on me? I understand everyone has different budgets. Yeah. You know? Like, I would love a Lamborghini, but that's not my budget. You know? Exactly. So I don't think everyone at Lamborghini is like, God, Jack needs to learn how to find the value in a car.
Find the money. Find the money.
Yeah. So I get it. There are those differences, but that is one of those things you have to think about when you get the person's like, wow, this person's half the price of everyone else. Well,
there's a reason.
There's sometimes you need to think about that. Yeah. That kind of stuff. And that's where you go back to what you want. Maybe if you don't really care about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back to what do you want?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and I think that was a great first little segue, just because I know what I would want. And going into the cocktail question of do you mix during the cocktail hour? I'm gonna say something. I'll let you think about it for a second. Okay. I know what I would want. So for couples listening that enjoy live mixing, I know I would want live mixing at my wedding. If I would be okay of a playlist going and easy, smooth transitions, that's fine. That's awesome. That's what you want. So going into the question, do you mix, like actually mix in the cocktail hour or no?
So again, I'm someone who will do what the client wants, what the couple wants. Typically, though, I do not. And the reason I don't is because I'm lazy. No, the real reason the real reason.
That's in question.
Like Jack.
The real reason I don't is because, to me, I always think every part of the wedding is for someone else. It's for a certain person. So I always say, and going back to working with vendors, I always say when it's time for the ceremony, the officiant's the boss. Yeah. Whatever makes the officiant happy, that's what I'm going to do. When it's cocktail hour, whatever we need to do for photography, for video, there's a lot of stuff going on there. You guys got it. dinner is
Oh, I really like Jack.
dinner is a mix of caterer and planner. I feel like
I understand.
in that spot,
of course.
To me, the music's important. I think that is the part of the night that is more about where I want people mingling and chatting and getting to know each other more so than even thinking about the music.
Yeah.
Now there's music there because I don't want to be awkward and quiet.
Yeah.
But I actually, for me as a DJ, I kind of want that part to not even really be resonating with them as much at that point.
Yeah.
What I typically will try to do is of course background music, cocktail hour. I always say dinner music I like to be what I call head bobbing music. So like people are kind of starting to notice it, and I would say it's kind of like a takeoff. You're slowly ramping up, and ideally by the end of dinner, you're not playing like the most high energy dance song, but people are kind of like, oh yeah, this
I'm
song,
excited to
they're
dance.
kind of like moving around.
Yeah.
It's slowly gotten to them where I'm hoping that when I go into dancing, it makes sense as opposed to, going from, Frank Sinatra and then the next song is some party rock anthem or whatever. And I was like, whoa, that's a
transition. All right.
Transition. So in my opinion, now again, if it were your wedding and I was your DJ, like, hey, this is what I really want, then I'm going to do it. That's part of it. But in general, I typically will kind of put together something that the playlist will sound nice, it'll fit the vibe, and then they can just enjoy the music, and I can get ready for the grand entrance.
And I think the reason why I wanted to say that is because I think a lot of couples in general will be like, I don't need a DJ for the ceremony and for cocktail hour. I can play a playlist off of my phone or iPod or whatever it is, but I do think that it is important and necessary for couples to hear, like, hey, you may not need someone mixing, but there's an art form of what you're doing, even if you're not quote unquote mixing.
The takeoff.
There's a reason.
The takeoff is still happening.
And it's super important because it again, it's just what you want. If you want people to, as you said perfectly, of just being like, enjoying the company of everybody during the cocktail hour, I think that's awesome. Of exactly what you said and how you do it, that's perfect. For most couples, I think 99% of couples, I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's still worth
You're just a high maintenance little bitch.
Yeah,
That's what we figured out.
I'm getting that vibe.
Yeah, no, but no, it's absolutely worth hiring a DJ for.
We get it. You're in the middle.
It's absolutely shut the fuck up, Alex. It is absolutely worth paying a DJ though to have during a ceremony and during a cocktail, because I think that's something we haven't actually talked about. Is I think there are a lot of couples of like, I don't need to hire a DJ during a ceremony and during a cocktail hour. I just need one for the reception. No.
Yeah.
No. It can absolutely ruin the mood.
Well,
Absolutely.
and from a logistical, like from a planner perspective, again, and then we'll get out of this granular shit, but people don't realize sometimes that, like, okay, so you don't care that your DJ comes in later. Well, that means he's going to be loading in and setting up in the middle of dinner. First of all, is that physically even possible the way your venue is laid out? Second of all, a little alarming for guests to be like, what the fuck's going on over there? It's really distracting. So, and that comes up for me as a planner, not just with DJ stuff, but like with florals. Well, can't we repurpose this arch from here to here? Well, no, because we're going to have to walk directly through cocktail hour and hold an R, so there are a lot of things that seem like maybe you're cost saving or, you're making things simpler, but in fact, you're not.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of those things. And I always say, even if I'm not being a part of the ceremony and cocktail hour, I'll always ask the couple, well, where is that happening? Because if it's happening anywhere near where the dancing and dinner is, I need to set up before that happens.
Right.
Because I don't want the officiant to be like, speak now and forever hold your peace, as I'm in the background going, test 1, 2, test 1, 2. Check.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
100%.
And does your videographer need to plug into that audio? And that's something that people aren't thinking about with ceremony music and stuff as well. So yes, it is definitely, it's a thing.
Thank you.
Okay.
I know some things aren't super exciting, but
my nipples are soft right now.
But it's important to know. It's important for couples to know the logistics.
Yes.
So.
Logistics. Okay, so what about managing family and clients that come to you with specific requests as far as like religious or cultural components? Every wedding's a little different.
Yeah.
As a planner, I have lots of experience with people coming up with all kinds of fun ideas that they want to incorporate, or mixing different cultures, and it's a super cool part of our job. But how is that something that you manage?
So when it comes to, I always say, and it actually says it in my contract, that regardless of who is signing the contract or paying the bill, the couple is who I answer to. So if mom and dad come up and hey, we're paying you, great. I'm doing what the couple wants. Because I don't want to be in that situation where the couple, they want some EDM song, but dad's like, I want some old country music, so play that. No, this isn't my... I gotta chill. But so I always make sure to handle that. Now, when I go through the planning meeting, something I always like to do is I always call it the broad strokes music genre checklist. And so what I'll do is I'll literally just say, you're going to give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or whatever you think. And I just start naming off music genres. And I go through a bunch. I'm like, do you want big band? Do you want country? What about 60s music, 70s music, 80s music, 90s music? And they'll say yes, yes, no, I don't know, maybe. And then, of course, we go through the requests. And I always ask them, do you want me to? I can take all requests, which means you absolutely trust your friends and family. I can take no requests, meaning you do not trust them. Or, and this is what most people do, you can let me figure out if this works. And if it's a good request, absolutely I'll play it. If it's a bad request, then I'll be like, oh, that's a good one. Let me add it to the list. And then I just never get to it.
Yeah. That's an old DJ trick.
It works.
It absolutely does. This is
It's the end of the night. Oh, you didn't play my song? Sorry, man. But you had fun, right?
Yeah.
I got kicked out of a bar on my 23rd birthday for requesting Bombs Over Baghdad too many times. And the DJ kept using that trick on me. He's like, yeah, it's next. Yeah, it's next. It's coming up. And he never played it. And so
I think saying it's on the list versus it's next is probably a better coin.
Right.
Yeah.
it didn't end well.
This is a big pull back the curtain. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll bring a notepad and I'll pre-fill in a whole bunch of songs so that they see theirs is at the bottom of the list.
That is genius.
I will play it, but look at
There's
all these
a
other
lot of these songs I got to get to.
Fucking love that. I'm going to start doing that
every
for my
DJ,
shit.
you need to start doing this. This is amazing.
It's just like a handwritten.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's funny because those songs like, yeah, but those songs suck. I'm like, yeah, sometimes people request really dumb songs.
Yeah. Oh,
they really do. There's some chicken
I
dance.
love that, Jack.
There's some chicken dance and some YMCA on there that nobody wants. Oh my God. Okay, but what about like the cultural components and religious stuff and all of those types of pieces?
So as I'm going through those different genres, I literally will ask, are there going to be any cultural things or different types of music that you wouldn't see at a quote, American wedding? And depending on what those are, I'll let them know how much guidance I'm going to need with that. Because I always say, if someone says, yeah, there's going to be a lot of Chinese music at my wedding, I want a bunch of that. I'll say, you're going to need to help me out here because if I was in China and said I want a bunch of American music, I could mean Garth Brooks. Sorry. I could mean, Kanye West. I could mean Dua Lipa. I could mean whatever. And so you've got to help point me in that direction. And I get as much guidance as I can on that. If it's going to be too much, like if it's something where they say, we want this to be nothing but Indian music, then in that initial consultation, that's something I'll probably have weeded out at that point and be like, look, if that's what you're looking for, I'm probably not the best suited for this wedding. Yeah. But if it's just a few, then I say, give me some good requests. Because again, using that same example, if I was in China at a wedding and it's playing a bunch of Chinese music, I'd be like, oh, this is fun. But you play some American song, even if it's one I'm not that into, I'll be like, oh, like Who Let the Dogs Out? I'll be like, oh, Who Let the Dogs Out?
I know this song.
And I'm going to go nuts. I'm like, let's do that for your family. Like, let them have that moment where they go, oh my God, he's playing a song for us. That's awesome. I think those songs are the best requests. The ones that are like, this is for someone in particular or for a reason in particular that we're doing this. And there was this couple I DJ'd for, and at the bachelor weekend or whatever they went to, someone was drinking beer in the shower apparently and dropped the bottle that broke glass everywhere. Oh, jeez. And they were all in a rush and they're all drunk, so they kept trying to take showers, but there was a glass in there. And so the theme song of this bachelor party became that Annie Lennox Walking on Broken Glass. So they let me know that. That's and then awesome. In the middle of, where everyone's dancing, I dropped that song and all the groomsmen are like, oh, you know, and they're doing, you know,
That's awesome.
That is really awesome.
yeah,
Also, maybe should be a banger.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's like a good song.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I rarely
I feel
play
like
it, but
I
I
was
played it.
gonna
I was
say,
like,
You were
like,
like,
I don't-
wait, this is good.
I feel like I don't ever
Yeah.
hear it at weddings, but I feel like that should maybe be in the regular rotation.
yeah, and that's my favorite part about being a DJ in a lot of ways is you rediscover music that you're like, I haven't heard this song. Why haven't I played
Yeah.
this song in so long? Because
Yeah.
you know, you can only play so many songs, and you don't realize whenever you add a new one to the list, one of them is disappearing. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like a set
It's
list
fading
every
away.
time, but it's you know, and,
Yeah.
and there'll be some songs. I was just talking to a buddy the other day about how there was a time when we would play "I Love It" by Iconopop every single wedding. Like, I was like, I actually haven't played that song in like a long time, but I don't remember stopping. I
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. Stop.
It just
It just
was
stopped.
replaced by whatever else was on the
Yeah, and then I'm sure someday in the future, someone's gonna go, you know, when I was a kid, that song, you know,
in the third grade.
in the third grade, and then yeah,
This really, really old song.
I'm like, you know, but and then you play it again, and I always say someday in like 20 years, a DJ is gonna drop Baby Shark, and the place is gonna explode.
Yeah.
I thought you were about to say "Baby" from Justin Bieber.
Oh, another oldie
That's
but
another
goodie.
oldie.
Baby Shark.
yeah.
Well, that is, I mean, it's a really cool part about music, right? And how important it is to a day and how
Yeah.
personal it is. And I think as vendors, like, I always feel so lucky to be included in this extremely personal, cool event.
Yeah.
And so for people to have songs that they're requesting from their, you know, fucked up bachelor party or
Right.
that grandma in China is going to love, like, what a privilege that we all have to be doing this job, you
Yeah.
know? It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
No, 100%.
What I love about weddings too is like I love DJing weddings. Like it's actually something I really, really enjoy. And it's why I do weddings and not as many corporate events anymore and things like that. Because there's something about that this day that is going to stick with people forever. And I also love the like, it's gotta be perfect. You know, you gotta make it right. Something about
Yeah.
that, like you don't get the redo. I like that
The
sort
good
of
pressure.
that pressure. Yeah, but also you get those moments that then you get the hugs at the end of the night and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love DJing weddings as opposed to other stuff is because I've never DJed a corporate event and had the CEO come over and be like, give me a big hug, man. This is the greatest. You know,
You
I'm
really
going to
brought
remember
it-
this forever.
Yeah, you really brought it home when you dropped Annie Lennox. Like that made my life. Yeah.
You know, there's just these moments. You're like, this is a moment that is so special for everyone, and I get to be a part of that, as opposed to, you know, look, if you like DJing corporate events, that's totally fine. If you like DJing clubs, that's totally fine. I like weddings. We're all different. It's cool.
Yeah, I love that. That's so cool. Well, tell our listeners and viewers where they can find you online and how to contact you for all of their DJ needs.
Yeah, you can find me at www.jackcfarmer.com. That's my website.
I don't think you have to say the www part anymore.
HTTP
//
at World Wide Web. So you can find my website, jackcfarmer.com, or you can visit me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. I thought I was so clever when I first said Real Jack Farmer. I'm like, oh, this is
It's going to click.
It's going to click. Now I'm like, oh, that's the latest. I should have.
Jack, you're old, but we love you.
Yeah,
appreciate
cheers.
it.
Thank you
Cheers.
so much.
Thank you so much.
See you next Tuesday.
Peace.